It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Broadcasting from coast to coast,
city to city, coast to coast.
It's time for the Ryan Hickey Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. If it's happening in sports, it's being talked about right here. And here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
Good Thursday morning and welcome into the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It is the Ryan Hickey Show with yours truly right here until 11 a.m. Eastern, taking you for the next 2 hours around the sports world. A lot to talk about from the previous few days. Get you ready for a fun, exciting matchup, or should I say a fun, exciting weekend full of great matchups in the NFL. A massive college football game coming up this weekend. Georgia, Alabama. We will talk to the great and former co-host of the Morning Boys, Mark Everett Kelly, Mr. SEC himself. Will join us about 40 minutes or so, 9:40, 9:45 Eastern Time. If you're on the East Coast, we appreciate you making us a part of your Monday or Thursday here. He will join us at 9:45, 9:40 Eastern because that game is massive. Massive. Already we've seen chaos in the SEC. We've seen Florida go down. Alabama had a near escape against Ole Miss on Saturday. Georgia, after just one of the worst first halves you'll ever see against Arkansas to start the season, is righted the ship. We'll see if Stetson Bennett can get it done on the big stage. They go to Tuscaloosa. Obviously, no Nick Saban on the sidelines since he unfortunately did contract the virus. We send our thoughts and prayers, hope that he is feeling better and recovering at home. It sounds like he is, and I'm sure he'll find some sort of way to make his imprint known in the game for sure. But we'll talk to Mark just about a half hour, so just a little more than a half hour from so to preview that big game. We do have to talk about the Jets, and I want to talk about the Jets. Hopefully in a positive way for once, because really there's been no positivity when it comes to that dumpster fire so far. It's been a total disaster, to say the least, to put it nicely, to say it frankly for sure. And that really culminated with the release of their star running back. We'll put star in quotes, as that's more what he accomplished with the Steelers, not really what he's done with the Jets. But they do release Le'Veon Bell a year and 5 games after signing him to that big 4-year deal. I do think there is one sliver of hope that Jets fans can look at going forward coming out of this Le'Veon Bell news. And I'll try to explain and hopefully make Jets fans feel happy about themselves for once, because really they are unfortunately just a piñata, an absolute piñata when it comes to just their team just making blunder after blunder after blunder. We're dead at 15 minutes or so. Top of the second hour, 10 Eastern. Justin Herbert balls out on Monday Night Football against the Saints. 4 touchdown passes, first rookie in NFL history to go for 4 touchdown passes on Monday Night Football. I think why he and the Chargers are the perfect example of why tanking doesn't work. I'll explain what that means top of the second hour. With a little baseball news tonight. ALCS, NLCS, both underway. I understand they almost kind of got lost in the shuffle. It feels like really no one's paying attention to them. Rays are up 3-1, chance to close out the Astros tonight. Dodgers are down 2-1. Clayton Kershaw on the mound tonight. Is this the biggest start of Clayton Kershaw's career? I'll tell you why. To me, the answer is yes. 10:20, and it's always on Thursdays. We finish off the show. Hickey's Pickies. Rough week for my guy Dan last week, coming from Hawaii just to come on the show. Now, he did get saved and was salvaged from last place by a great Justin Herbert performance. Almost got the outright win to give himself a little bit better standing, but he is out of the basement. Did go 2-4 after that big super dog or underdog upset special cover. We'll see if my guy Nick McCool, very excited about Nick, to come on the show to end the show. Hickey's Pickies. We'll see how he does for week number 6 of Hickey's Pickies. As always, we remind you we're coming to you live for the Big Italy Pizzeria Studios, whether it's great pizza, hot heroes, and phenomenal dinners. Check out Big Italy Pizzeria if you're on the island in Medford. Joe's Pizzeria in Bayshore, their sister shop, we'll say, or online, wherever you are, at Big Italy Pizza, there we go, .com. So I do want to start the show off asking you a question: is it time to take a team seriously? Because for the most part, I'll be honest, I have not. Tuesday night, a lot of speculation, a lot of attention paid to this team, and that is the Tennessee Titans. Not for what they've been doing on the football field, but because what happened off it, contracting the virus, having it spread, and really being the first team so far to have a massive outbreak throughout their team. Had their game last week canceled against the Steelers pushed back. Had an early bye, had their game against the Bills because COVID cases were still breaking out late last week, pushed to Tuesday night. A little Tuesday night football for the first time in a decade. And they go out there and did something I did not foresee, did not expect, didn't think there was a shot in hell. And that is, never read Facebook comments during the show. My guy Ken Carmen listening. 1997 call. They want their vest back. Thank you, Ken. We'll address that in a little bit. But the Titans did something I did not expect they were going to do. Not only just win the game, beat the Bills, so they had no shot at doing. They blew the doors off Buffalo. 42-16, moved to 4-0. But now I think the question has to be out there, and at least for me, there's a definitely change of heart. And that is it time to take the Titans seriously? Because if you listen to the show, I didn't really take them seriously last year. Coming into this year, previewing the year, there was the Colts division to win, and I thought the two teams, or I guess the one team I should say that would fight the Colts for would be the Texans. I thought the Titans were a flash in the pan last year. I thought what Ryan Tannehill did was nice. He provided a jolt of energy to that lifeless offense when Marcus Mariota was their quarterback. But I just thought, because of their style of play, which is reliant and based upon Derrick Henry basically being used as battering ram, running for 100 yards, running for 150 yards, and then having Ryan Tannehill throw it over the top 2, 3, 4 times a game, I didn't think that was sustainable going forward. We saw in the playoffs when they beat the Patriots, it was bully ball, but it was nothing crazy. They go to Baltimore again. They talk about bully. They bullied the Ravens. But again, nothing crazy offensively. Ryan Tannehill, both of those games held under 100 yards. And then I think we saw they got exposed, and their philosophy kind of took a hit when they played the Chiefs in the AFC title game. But so far, they have bounced back, proving me dead wrong. And at 4-0, it's 100% time to take the Titans seriously. I think what they are doing is actually sustainable. And they should be considered a real threat to the Chiefs, to the Ravens, to the Steelers, whoever you want to put in there in that third best team in the AFC. They're right in that mix. Because to be honest, Ryan Tannehill is playing really solid football. Again, I thought what he did last year was more lightning in a bottle. Was more flash in the pan, like I said. Was more just, okay, here's a new guy coming in. Totally different quarterback than Marcus Mariota. He's more aggressive. He'll take shots down the field. And I thought more was, okay, it's going to take a little bit for the league to get it to adjusted to and learn how to defend Ryan Tannehill. And we see it all the time. Guys come in, set the world on fire for 5, 6, 7, 10, even maybe a full season. But once there's tape out on the guy, once defensive coordinators and defenses have enough time to realize what makes that player successful, they could figure it out and kind of bring that player back to normal. Bring him back to really his talent should be. And for Ryan Tannehill, I thought that was going to happen this year. But he's one of those guys that just took advantage because defenses and defense coordinators were unprepared to face him, unprepared for the shots he's going to take. And that 9-4 record he went last year, including the playoffs, I thought to me was honestly, to be honest, it was a fluke. But so far, 4 games, he's shown that's not a fluke. Tuesday night's game was honestly more impressive for me and a big moment and a sticking point for me personally because watching that game, again, I thought that the Titans offense was predicated on you need Derrick Henry to run for 100 yards at least. If he is not establishing the ground game, if he's not dominating the line of scrimmage and him and that offensive line are just pushing bodies, I didn't think the passing game had a chance. I thought Ryan Tannehill really, really needed a great running game for him to be successful, for him to open up the passing lanes, for him to take advantage of defenses putting 7, 8, 9 guys in the box. And that's when he can throw it over the top and have some success. But instead, that was not the case on Tuesday night. The Bills did a pretty good job of slowing Derrick Henry down. He ran for under 60 yards. And in doing so, Ryan Tannehill, on the flip side, 21 of 28, 195 yards, 3 touchdowns. And that was despite Derrick Henry running for just 57 yards. And really, until the last drive of the game, hasn't really gotten going, sputtered out, didn't really have too many big runs outside of just chucking Josh Norman, which is, you talk about business decisions. Any corner, when Derrick Henry's running at you, just go off to the side. That business decision right there, because you do not want to end up like Josh Norman. You don't. But going back to Ryan Tannehill, they don't need him to win games with his arm. He showed you he can. Played really well in that Bills game. That's a great Bills defense he went up against. So I give the Titans a lot of credit. I think their style of offense is sustainable so far. Because CBS put this great stat out there. If you look at the last 14 starts for Ryan Tannehill in the regular season, he's 11-3, threw 31 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Those stats are very similar to Patrick Mahomes. Now, look, I'm not saying he is Patrick Mahomes. Nowhere, he's not even anywhere close to that level. But to me, those numbers, 11-3, 31 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, the last 14 regular season starts for Tannehill, that at least brings some validity to the fact that, you know what? Maybe his style of play is sustainable. Maybe this Titans offense is sustainable. Maybe they are a force to be reckoned with. And they're here to stay. They are for real. Because on top of what Ryan Tannehill is doing offensively, despite the fact that he doesn't need Derrick Henry to dominate the line of scrimmage in order for him to have success, Mike Vrabel and the culture that he has instilled in Tennessee has been flat out impressive. I mean, again, going to Tuesday night's game, I thought it was a lock that the Bills are going to win. Yeah, the Titans had basically a 2-week layoff. Their facility was closed for 11 days. They were finally let in the buildings to practice in person for the first time on Saturday. So they had 3 days, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, to practice, get on the same page, get some reps for the first time in 11 days. And they looked sharp. They looked ready to play. They were the aggressors in that game. The Bills looked like the team that they were off for 2 weeks, not allowed in the facility for 11 days. Because the Titans looked sharp. They were on the same page. They played really well. And I think that's a credit to Mike Vrabel and the coaching staff. Their defense is hard-nosed. They are very tough. They are very physical. Like I said, go back to that playoff game against Baltimore. They bullied the Ravens. And the Ravens last year were bullies. They were. They would punch you in the mouth. They would talk a lot of smack on defense. And they'd run the ball down your throat. When they got up on you, forget it. The game was over. But the Titans took that philosophy and shoved it right back in their face. They punched the bully back, and guess what? The bully ran away. The Ravens cowered. So you do that to Lamar Jackson and this Ravens offense. Tuesday night, I mean, we heard nonstop, Josh Allen, Josh Allen, Josh Allen. He's incredible. He's an MVP candidate. He's making all these great decisions. He is the reason now the Bills are going to be 4-0 or 5-0. And you know what the Titans did on Tuesday night? They made Josh Allen look like rookie year Josh Allen, like second year Josh Allen. He was making some bad reads. He had some bad throws. Both interceptions were on him. The first one I put on him as well. He had an open receiver through behind him. Missed a few open guys, making some bad reads, holding on to the ball. Outside of that second drive, where they marched down the field and scored a touchdown, Josh Allen didn't look in control. He looked lost out there. He looked confused. That's a credit to Mike Vrabel and what this Titans defense was able to do. So I know I'm late to the party. I understand. Listen, they're 4-0. They went to the AFC title game last year. This is not some revelation saying that, hey, the Titans are a good team. But for me, it took a lot longer to buy in. And I'm curious your thoughts, because I'm not even sure, coming out of Tuesday night's game, there's a lot of buy-in with the Titans. People are taking them seriously. Again, I told you, before the year, I thought they were a flash in the pan last year. I thought the AFC South was going to come down to the Colts and the Texans. And after 4 games, at least for the Titans, 5 games for everyone else in that division, it's a Titans division to lose. It really is. Their style of play travels. It's suited for the playoffs. So I'm taking the Titans seriously. They're legit to me. They are a force to be reckoned with. And they are a team. They are a team that's going to cause some real havoc in the AFC. They might, honestly, I got to see a little bit more. They may honestly provide a better shot at beating the Chiefs and the Ravens right now. Because right now, coming off that Monday night game a few weeks ago, the Chiefs look like to be in the Ravens' head. And I don't think the Chiefs are in the Titans' heads, that's for sure. So I'm curious your thoughts. You watched Tuesday night's game. You've seen the first 4 games so far through the Titans. You see how they played last year to end the season. Are you buying into the Titans? Do you think they're one of the best teams in football? Can they knock off the Chiefs? Are they built right now, constructed offensively, defensively, to give the Chiefs a run for their money, give the Ravens a run for their money, and be a tough out in the playoffs? I'm saying yes, I'm buying it. I'm curious your thoughts. Worldwide Sports Network on Facebook, WWSRN_radio on Twitter, also on Twitter at Ryan Hickey Show. Tweet me your thoughts right on Facebook, and when we come back, we'll get your thoughts. Jets fans, I feel you, man. I feel your pain. There is a glimmer of hope that I want to point out here, coming off the latest Le'Veon Bell news, coming off just this another dumpster fire of a season. I hope the Jets could do it right. This could be the start of maybe having a bright future. I'll explain what that means next. It is the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
We are back here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, talking a lot of Tennessee Titans, something I did not think we'd be talking about here on this Thursday. A team, I'll be honest, did not take too seriously. Thought it was a fluke what they accomplished last year. The playoff games were ugly. Hey, they won. They were ugly. But now 4-0, dismantle the Bills. And they're rolling. So you taking the Titans seriously. Clarence Nixon writes on Facebook, what's up, Clarence? The Titans are fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji. I'd agree. Titans are on fire right now. They're playing really well. They're a force you reckon with, and I'm telling you. I'm late to the party, I'll admit. But the way they play, with Ryan Tannehill showing that he's able to play, or have success, I should say, without Derrick Henry basically dominating the game, I think they can have real success not only in the regular season, in the playoffs, give the Chiefs a run for their money, because their style of physicality, holding on to the ball, is really how you beat the Chiefs. And seeing how the Ravens match up against the Chiefs, seeing how the Ravens were just bullied and dominated by the Titans in the playoffs last year, I think the Titans have as good a shot as anyone in the AFC to upset the Chiefs, to take them down, to prevent them from going to the Super Bowl again in back-to-back years. So I'm curious your thoughts. Are you buying into the Titans? Can they be the team? Are they the team in the AFC right now that can knock off the Chiefs, that can prevent them from going to back-to-back Super Bowls in the AFC? I think that answer has to be a serious yes. I'm not ready to go there exactly yet, with them being the best chance to knock off the Chiefs, but it's close, man. They're getting there. I'm buying into the Chiefs, and I'm very excited to see how they keep on playing going forward, but they are a force to be reckoned with, and I think we should be taking them a lot more seriously than we are. So if you're on Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network, if you want to write a funny comment, again, Ken Carman, my guy. I love Ken. Cleveland's finest. If you are a listener, I highly suggest the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima in the morning. Do a great job there. Great time to be in Cleveland, by the way. Browns are on fire. He writes in on Facebook, 1997 called they want their vest back. Anthony Lima, his great co-host, chimes in, 1957 called they want their hair grease back. Not loving the vest, not loving the hair grease. What are you going to do? This is my biggest issue, I'll be honest, in life, is that I am not quick-witted. I don't have, I can't really think on my feet too much. I will be thinking all show of a comeback. It may not even hit me until like tomorrow or 3 days from now. I'm like, oh man, could have got you there. So for now, these comments are going to sit there. I'm working. Don't worry. The rest of the show might suck, to be completely honest, because I am trying my best here. Think of a funny comeback. So far, that's not happening. So if you have any good comebacks, if you want to help me out here, any good comebacks you got, Worldwide Sports Network on Facebook, WWSRN_radio on Twitter, or on Twitter, Ryan Hickey Show. I'll use the comebacks. I'll give you credit. I'll try to pass off my own, but I'll give you credit. Because, yeah, your boy is not exactly quick on his feet. Not a good roaster. That's for sure. That is for sure. So, we'll get your thoughts on the Titans. We'll get your thoughts on some good comebacks. And also, Jets fans, I hope you're listening. Because, yes, it was another brutal week for you. Another brutal day for you. Because this dumpster fire season just continues to go on. 0-5 on the year. Lowest scoring offense in the NFL. With an offensive-minded head coach, mind you. And now, on Tuesday, they do make some big waves, make some big news by announcing that they are cutting Le'Veon Bell, a man that they signed to a 4-year, $52.5 million deal last offseason, a guy who was signed by a general manager in Mike McHagnon that was fired a month later, a guy the head coach doesn't want. Sounds like the new general manager, Joe Douglas, doesn't want. And finally, that saga has come to an end, sending some shockwaves, at least around the NFL, that, hey, Jets are going to Jets. But is there hope? Is there some sort of glimmer of hope? Or is there some sort of sign you can point to that says, you know what? Maybe there was a shot that Jets could turn this around. Not this year. Probably not even next year. This is a multi-year planned rebuild, right? Not saying there's no, trust me, with this roster, with this organization, there's no quick fix. They're not going from worst to first. But is there a glimmer of hope you can look to in 2, 3, 4 years that maybe this can turn around? I think there is. Coming out of this Le'Veon Bell move specifically, I think there is. Now, before I get into that, this is predicated on one move. An obvious move, mind you, but this is predicated on a massive move that first starts, which, again, we haven't seen yet. We've seen 2 head coaches lose their job in Bill O'Brien and Dan Quinn. Adam Gase is still employed. But this whole turnaround for the Jets, this whole having hope, having something to point to, say, hey, listen, maybe there's a shot we actually turn this around. We don't screw it up. Because as a Mets fan, I know what it's like to have incompetent ownership, have an incompetent team, and basically have your team be the laughing stock of the league. The Mets are the laughing stock of baseball, and the Jets are the laughing stock of the NFL. So this, what I'm about to say, is predicated on the fact that they have to move on from Adam Gase. He's been a terrible fit from the start, obviously. Their offense, not telling you, not earth-shattering, not groundbreaking here. Their offense has been abysmal. Adam Gase, the so-called quarterback whisperer, the so-called offensive genius that Jets owner Woody Johnson, or I guess I should say Christopher Johnson, has deemed. Well, their quarterback they drafted top first round has regressed. There's really, so far, zero buy-in from this team with Adam Gase, right? Now, what do you hear? Through 5 games, you always hear about the practices aren't great. They're not practicing hard. They're practicing terribly, and that's what's leading to terrible games. And guess what? This is not the first time that Adam Gase has had players call him out, have players upset with him. I mean, let's just go back to Miami really quick. Dolphins players loathed Adam Gase. Jarvis Landry couldn't wait to get out of there. Other players are demanding trades if Adam Gase is still the head coach. So now we just talked about Ryan Tannehill and the Titans, right? Part of the reason why I'm starting to really buy into the Titans is because Ryan Tannehill's play, to me, is actually sustainable. I thought what it was last year was almost a flukish, right? Where he had one great second half of the year, but okay, is that really sustainable? We know Ryan Tannehill in his career is usually not that good. But part of my buying with the Titans is my starting to think is that, listen, maybe Ryan Tannehill with the Dolphins didn't work out. Maybe he wasn't as good as he should have been because Adam Gase was his head coach. And now that he got out of that situation, he went to Tennessee with a competent offensive mind in Arthur Smith and a well-run team and organization led by Mike Vrabel. But you know what? Maybe that's all he needed. Maybe all he needed was some competent coaching, and this is actually who Ryan Tannehill is. A quarterback that can win you games, that can make the big throw when needed to help you win games. I think that's exactly what's going to happen with Sam Darnold if the Jets decide to move on from this offseason. So what I'm about to say is a long-winded way of saying it. This is obviously the first move is to get rid of Adam Gase. Easy. Again, not earth-shattering, not groundbreaking. Everybody and their mother knows that. But there are, speaking of which, so if that happens, there are 2 moves I want to point to that the Jets have done with Joe Douglas so far this season that I think shows that at least there was some competency there. There is a hope and a prayer that, you know what, maybe they actually have their eyes set on the future. Maybe they actually have, how about this, a plan. They actually have a plan because that's really what the Jets have been missing for, it feels like forever, a plan. The first move I want to look at is when Joe Douglas traded away Jamal Adams earlier this year before the season started. He traded away a safety who wanted to get paid a ridiculous amount of money. Don't get me wrong. Jamal Adams is a great player. He's the heart and soul of that defense. He is a guy you want on your team. But with where the Jets are right now on their team, with what he was asking for, one, to get paid basically over $17 million. Not just be the highest paid safety in the league, be one of the highest paid defensive players in the league. Sorry, you can't do that. Not for a safety. Not for where the Jets are right now, where they're one or two pieces away from being a title contender, which they're not. If they were, that's one thing. They are nowhere close to that. So trade away Jamal Adams, who guy was being a malcontent because he wasn't getting what he wanted. You got two first-round picks back and a safety in Bradley McDougall. You know what? I'll give Joe Douglas credit there. You got max value for a player that the Seahawks not only have to give 2 first-round picks for, they have to pay at some point. You see those deals made for players like Jalen Ramsey, for Khalil Mack. Important positions, defensive ends and corners. Safety is not valued like that, and the Seahawks still gave up 2 first-round picks. I give Joe Douglas a lot of credit for that. So he didn't succumb to the pressure of trying to sign Jamal Adams to a deal that would have overpaid him. You got draft picks back, which is one of the best things and the biggest things the Jets need going forward. This is not a win-now situation. This is not a turn it around, we'll compete next year sort of thing. This is about gaining as much assets as possible because the future right now is more important than the present. And to me, that translated over to the second move I want to highlight, which is cutting Le'Veon Bell on Tuesday. Like I said, he signed a massive deal for agency, 4 years, $52.5 million. The Jets spent, honestly, like drunken sailors in that 2019 offseason. Mike McCagnon, realizing his job's on the line, said, you know what? If I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out swinging. We're signing free agents. You signed Le'Veon Bell to that big deal. You signed C.J. Mosley to a massive deal. The Jets and Mike McCagnon spent money in free agency. Like, one, they were 1 or 2 players away from competing. And 2, like they thought the best way to rebuild the team is through free agency. That is not the case. The best way to build a team is through the draft. And credit to the Jets. I'll give the Jets some sort of credit here. Joe Douglas saw this is not working out with Le'Veon Bell. He's unhappy. The offense stinks. Adam Gase didn't even want him here. Maybe I don't even want him here. So they tried to find a trade. Couldn't find a trade partner. You know what? They could have held on to him. They said, screw it. We're already paying the money. We're just going to cut bait. Because Le'Veon Bell's getting his money no matter what. It's guaranteed this year. So whether you cut him, you're still paying him. Whether he plays, you're still paying him. So I'll at least give Joe Douglas credit that, you know what? There was a sunk cost there. We realized this is not going to work out. We realized, you know what? This is only going to be a situation that's going to get worse, not better. Time to move on. I think that was the right move. Now, jettisoning talent is not exactly a good way to win. Because the team is the way it is, because Adam Gase is just awful at his job, you got to at least make the situation not as toxic as possible. And at least from reports coming out here, the only way the Jets were going to be able to trade Bell and get something in return is if they attach a draft pick to him. Which that's the one thing the Jets can't afford to do right now. They need as many draft picks as possible. So at least those 2 moves gives me some sort of hope that, you know what, maybe there is a plan in the future that says, you know what, now it is gone. It's a lost cause to win now. It's a lost cause to win next year. But maybe 2 years from now when we accumulate all these draft picks, maybe 3 years from now, there could be something where, you know what, we get enough talent, we scout well, we draft well, which is what Joe Douglas was brought here to be, right? He is a scout. His strength is scouting. So in theory, that should mean you should hit on these draft picks, build through the draft, and have success doing so. So with that said, the two areas the Jets have an opportunity to actually have a plan moving forward is one, like I said, firing Adam Gase. But not only firing Adam Gase. This should be the prerequisite. This should be the only sort of requirement for the next Jets head coach. Find a culture setter. Not an offensive guru. Not the next Sean McVay. Because unfortunately for those guys who only focus on offense, who are supposed to bring some sort of dynamic game planning to the situation, the Jets don't need that. Well, they do, but this is what I mean. They need something greater than that. They need a culture setter. This organization is toxic. It starts all the way at the top, and it is so hard to overcome bad ownership. But I like Joe Douglas so far. He has brought some stability to the organization. If you could bring a culture setter, a guy like Brian Flores, what he's done so far in Miami, a guy like Mike Vrabel, we just talked about the Titans a lot. Mike Vrabel has set the tone in Tennessee. The team has taken his identity. They bought in. They are playing hard for him. That's what you need. The Jets haven't had a culture setter really since what? Probably Rex Ryan? You need someone to come in who's, forget offensive mind, forget defensive mind, who can set the tone, take control of this organization, and right the ship. Because that is a way tougher demand, way tougher job than you think. So sure, having a Sean McVay type, if you draft Trevor Lawrence or if you keep Sam Darnold, sure, it could help the offense really bloom. It could help the offense turn around to maybe become somewhat competent. But it's so hard to overcome incompetency, bad ownership, that they need someone to take the bull by the horns. So you can do that, you get a culture setter head coach, collect as many draft picks as possible. To me, the Jets should be mirroring, see what's going on in Miami, and try to do that same exact thing. It would behoove the Jets long term to not tank, because I don't consider what the Dolphins are doing tanking. They are gathering as many assets as possible because Brian Flores still has that team playing really hard. The young guys are on the field and they're playing. But this entire roster for the Jets needs to make over. Really, outside of Mekhi Becton, I would argue Sam Darnold, but a lot of people also are gone on Sam Darnold or done with Sam Darnold. There's one, maybe two players on this entire Jets roster where you point to as being untouchable. This entire roster needs to make over. The best way to do that, the cheapest way to do that, and the most sustainable way to do that is through the draft. Now, have a ton of money for agency next year. Don't fall into the same trap you did in 2019. Free agency is there when you are one or two pieces away. When you need a position of need, when you think we are ready to go, here's one thing we need fixed. The Seahawks are ready to win now with Russell Wilson as their quarterback. Defense they recognized was a weakness, especially in the secondary. That's why they went all in on Jamal Adams. Jets can't afford to build a team through free agency. And I think so far, at least Joe Douglas has come off of the organization seeming like he has a plan for the future. Accumulating draft picks, shipping off assets when they are at their highest value, and build for the future 5 years from now rather than try to win right now. So Jets fans, I'm very curious your thoughts. Is there any sort of hope? Is there any sort of hope that the Jets can turn it around? Is there any sort of glimmer in the future you can point to say, you know what, maybe this is not a total and complete dumpster fire? Maybe getting ready and basically just cutting bait with Le'Veon Bell, trading Jamal Adams is, you know what, a sign that maybe this team has a plan for the future that they can turn around. So curious your thoughts. Worldwide Sports Network on Facebook, WWSR_radio on Twitter, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter. We'll get your thoughts, and when we come back, the great Mark Everett Kelly, my former co-host, will join us. There's a big game going on in college football this weekend if you missed it. Georgia, Alabama, number 3 versus number 2, no big deal. We'll talk about that matchup and more SEC numbers when the Ryan Hickey Show returns right here on the Worldwide Sports Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
The greatest theme in all of sports, the SEC on CBS. Nothing gets the juices going. Nothing gets you more fired up than hearing that music fire up on 3:30 on a Saturday. And boy, do we have a good one this weekend. Number 3, Georgia. Number 2, Alabama, in Tuscaloosa. No one better to talk about it than with Mr. SEC himself, the former great co-host on the Morning Boys right here on the Worldwide Sports Network. It is the great Mark Everett Kelly. Mark, what's going on, buddy?
Ryan, what a pleasure. I mean, I don't think I could have a better introduction. As far as Mr. SEC, I might have to take that and use that myself, but I appreciate it. It's great hearing you, man. You're doing great. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say I'm proud of you, like I'm like your dad, but you're doing great, man, and I'm so happy for you, and all the success in the world. But it is absolutely great to have the old team back. Too bad we couldn't get Austin somehow involved in this too.
That's right. Well, it's all we need. We may have to have a 3-way talk next time and get Austin involved so you can just drop some random drops for sure.
And go over when Vital called and he kept him on hold for like a half an hour.
Exactly. Mark, well, like you said, you're Mr. SEC. If you haven't seen it yet, worldwidesportsradio.com. Mark wrote a great article this week, not only previewing, or mostly I should say previewing, the Georgia-Alabama game, breaking down the numbers, crunching everything you need to know, offense, defense, get you ready and prepared for this massive SEC matchup, the biggest college football game so far of this 2020 season. So, Mark, we'll just start right there. I mean, you have a great offense in Alabama. You have a great defense in Georgia. Strength versus strength, as you highlighted in your article. What wins? What wins in the end, offense or defense?
Well, look, if Georgia played better offenses the first 3 games, I would be a little more impressed with their ability to turn a game. Now, they really showed themselves in the second half against Tennessee last week. They allowed 71 yards in the second half. Tennessee couldn't get out of their own way, which, by the way, that was their chance, Tennessee. If they wanted to be somebody in the SEC East, right, because it's been Florida and Georgia forever, they had their chance to step up, and they didn't. So, like Kentucky had a couple years ago, Tennessee missed their spot. And, who knows if they can get it back. Certainly, I don't think they're capable of winning the division anymore, but maybe, they'll make the Tangerine Bowl or something like that.
But, Tennessee, I'm with you. Tennessee is frauds. They are they are like Texas. They're like Miami. Like, there's always a lot of hype. Jeremy Pruitt's done a good job recruiting. But, like, until they win some big games, until they show up, even just show up in a big game, let's just pump the brakes on thinking Tennessee is legit or a team or a contender. I'm with you.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because, I mean, you had LSU last year when they went into Alabama. You and I talked about it before, before the game. And I didn't think they were capable of going in there and stopping Alabama from scoring. And then what happens? The first drive, Tua makes a mistake, fumbles the ball. LSU picks it up. They pick up on their opportunity, and then they ran away with the game. Alabama came back, made it close. But LSU really put their foot down at that point and said, we are serious. We beat the defending SEC West champion at that point. They lost to Clemson in the national championship. And they said, we're for real. And it was Tennessee's time to do that. They didn't. Just like if anybody else who wants to step up in the SEC East, since when was the last time somebody else won a division besides Florida and Missouri a couple of years, but then they get blown out in the SEC championship game. But really, it's been Florida and Georgia in that division, ever since Fulmer left.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you here. It's even Georgia too going into this year. I'll be honest, I've kind of, and I still am on, I think you're with me too, on the Florida bandwagon. I think that's, when it comes to Georgia, you're right. Like, the biggest frustration for me with Georgia and why I kind of always not struggle to buy in, because I think they'll always be, one of those top teams, always be in the rankings, always be in the mix. Like you said, they've dominated the SEC East the past few years. They will not get over the hump until they finally come into the 21st century with offense. Now, they're supposed to do it with Jamie Newman, which I thought, to me at least, was that was the most impactful opt-out of college football, not because he's the best player that opted out. Right? There's a lot of other players that opted out that aren't coming back, but because of what he was supposed to do. Exactly, right. What he was supposed to do with this offense, where he was supposed to take them to actually be a mobile quarterback, to actually run the spread offense, which was what everyone is doing, really except Georgia. They're not doing it. As we've seen, Stetson Bennett, he's played well so far. But more of a pro-style offense. That this is more just, again, not a high-flying tempo offense that we see even with Ole Miss last week, what they can do against Alabama.
Oh, my gosh, right? No.
Are you buying into Georgia's offense at all?
No, I'm not, because again, they played the 9th, 10th, and 11th ranked defense in the SEC. With Arkansas, Auburn, and who they played
Tennessee.
Tennessee, yeah. So look, Georgia. First of all, they have a couple things they got to get over. They got to get over the fact that they've collapsed in 3 of the last 4 games against Alabama, blowing double-digit second-half leads. That's a big thing. And they had proven quarterbacks play those games. Jake Fromm and Andy Murray. Okay, they were probably the best that Georgia had since Matthew Stafford, who Stafford lost to Alabama also, but he beat Alabama as well the year before. So they have to get over that. That might be a mental gap. I don't know if they can. Every time they got to put their foot down, they don't do it. All right? Alabama in the SEC championship game 2 years ago outscored them. They were down 28-14. They scored the final 21 points of that game with Jalen Hurts coming in. And then, the SEC national championship game, they were up 27. And then, Tua leads them back. And then, of course, in overtime, you think that they got them. You think that the game is over. And then, boom, the game is over the other way in one play. So, and that's the thing about Alabama. I kind of made reference to it because everybody say, like, Alabama's defense is weak. And look, Ole Miss is good. I mean, they lead the SEC in offense. They are second in the nation in offense. They can put up yards on anybody. The problem is they can't stop anybody.
Yeah. As good as they can put up offense is how bad their defense is.
Right. So, and Lane Kiffin, give the guy credit. He's the whole reason why Alabama has this new and exciting offense. And Sarkisian is kind of just molded into perfection because he had the horses to run with it. But, Alabama always had, the athletes in Cooper and Jones and, the wide receivers, but they didn't have the quarterback. Okay. Tua was the first, and they didn't trust Jalen Hurts as much as they trusted Tua. You see Jalen Hurts throwing 4,000 yards with Oklahoma. He could have done that with Alabama, but he didn't. And then Tua comes in, and then the whole offense is different. Mac Jones has played incredibly good. I liked him from the beginning. I thought he played I thought he showed a lot of guts in that Auburn game when he threw those 2 pick sixes, and really the one near the goal line should have totally deflated him. And he came right back, and he played very well that game. If it weren't for a couple of brain farts by Saban, which normally never happens, they should have won that game, and also the extra second on the clock that always seems to happen down in Auburn. But
weird things. That's another thing. I mean to interrupt you. Everything, those Auburn home games, never anything goes right. Like, there's no ordinary game at Jordan-Hare Stadium. There's always something that happened that's bizarre, that's weird. Clock,
Isn't it
a
true?
bizarre ending, and now we saw it with Bo Nix spiking the ball backwards, but they didn't recover it. There's never a game that goes smoothly and simply that happens in Auburn.
Right, and you got Auburn's been good. I mean, Auburn's been just they're not in Alabama Scots. Nobody is, but they have them and LSU are the only teams that are consistently can challenge Alabama in the last since Saban's been there. Okay, and that's the other thing here. People don't realize how much Alabama's really dominated. Okay, now this matchup since Saban's come to the SEC, Georgia, Alabama have the 2 highest winning percentages. Georgia's not that close to Alabama because Alabama's light years ahead of everybody. I think Alabama's won like 89% of their SEC games. Alabama's won 27 straight against the SEC East.
Crazy.
The last time they lost was to Stephen Garcia and South Carolina in 2010.
Crazy.
Okay,
wow.
It was with Marcus Lattimore.
I think Alshon Jeffrey was their wide receiver. Yeah, that was a fun team.
Yeah, and actually South Carolina won the East that year with 3 losses.
Oh.
You can imagine a team winning a division with 3 losses. And even further, that was the Cam Newton year. South Carolina was up 28-7 against Kentucky, and they lost. They lost 31-28.
Can't make it up.
Yeah, you can't make it up. They win the East. Okay, they're blowing out in the SEC championship game. And Alabama 35-3 against the SEC East. The only teams they lost to Georgia in 2007 at home. That's their only home loss. That was Saban's first home game. And they lost to Florida in the 2008 SEC championship game. The only times they've lost to an SEC East team, 35-3.
Crazy.
So, people who talk about the SEC, we all know it's the best conference in college football. But there's a distinct difference between the West and the East that I highlighted when I was doing my preseason work. The West has won 5 or 6 national championships since Saban came there. And the East has, and even if you go to the SEC championship games, it's been 7-1 the last 8 years since they went to since Texas A&M and Missouri joined the SEC. So the West is really dominating over the East. The only time that the East won SEC championship game was when Auburn lost a couple years ago to Georgia. So, And you basically know that anytime there's a big game between the two divisions, usually the West comes out on top. So this is just as much for the East. If you're Georgia, you gotta, now is the time. Everybody, everything that I'm hearing from the so-called experts is that Georgia's defense is for real. Alabama can't stop anybody, and that and then that's the reason why Georgia's going to win. But here's another thing you got to think of. Alabama has 45 plays where they've scored a touchdown of 30 yards or more since 2018. 45 plays from scrimmage. They scored a touchdown 30 yards or more. So their offense is scoring a lot quicker. Before they used to take these long drives and eat up 10 minutes and, run the ball down your throat.
Right.
They don't do that anymore. Now they can score from anywhere at any time. That puts the defense on the field a lot more. So if you look at the last 3 years, they've had more defensive plays than they've had offensive plays, where from 2009 to 2017, it was exactly the opposite. So that's a small part of the reason why Alabama's defense is maybe a little bit vulnerable. Not the big part. Obviously, Alabama's defense isn't as dominant as it was, 2010, 2011, right. 2012. Okay, everybody knows that. Dylan Moses coming back was a huge help. It still kind of hasn't clicked, though, because they're still getting exposed for too many things. If I'm their defense, I'm really afraid that Saban's not going to be on the sideline, because he's going to be nitpicking every little thing they do wrong, and he's going to have all the access, all the camera angles, everything that he can possibly have at his dispense to really give these guys an earful if they don't step up and start playing like they're capable of playing. And that's where the biggest difference is to me. What's more likely to happen? Is Georgia likely to explode and score 50 points a game, which is what Alabama is averaging now? Or or is Alabama's defense more capable of stopping a good but not great Georgia offense?
Yeah, and another interesting wrinkle to this, Mark, is obviously we have the news of Nick Saban having COVID. Thankfully, so far it seems he's okay. He's asymptomatic. It seems to be, hopefully he'll recover, no problem.
Well, he'll get the treatment Trump got. So, he should. He runs in the same circles, right?
It's, yeah, I'm with you. I think
he's the most important person in the state, Ryan.
Yes. No, I think Alabama will do everything possible to make sure that he is okay. It's funny because now I almost heard that news, and it's almost like, I'm like, all right, you know what? Like, coming off of coming off their worst defensive performance under Nick Saban since he's been there at Alabama. I think this is almost a thing where now it's like they are going to come out fired up, maybe even more inspired than ever, because he's not there. I think that this is a game, like you said, where I'm kind of believing in Alabama's defense to slow Georgia down. I don't think Georgia has exactly the right style of offense to give Alabama fits. We see Alabama has fits with the mobile quarterbacks, with up-tempo offenses. Georgia's not either of those. So I think that this is a game where they really do bounce back and kind of show that, you know what, for all the panic, all the concern at the Alabama defense, sure, again, it was exposed on Saturday, don't get me wrong. Absolutely. But I think that's more of a one-off and just based on the opponent than anything else.
And also Kirby Smart and Lane Kiffin, both ex-coaches with Saban, but they have different strengths. Okay, so I like Kirby. I love Kirby Smart. I think he's a great coach. And Lane Kiffin, I never really liked as a coach because I thought he was a guy you couldn't trust. But I think he's really going to start to build something down there at Ole Miss. Finally, you might have another team besides Auburn, LSU, and Alabama to compete in the West. And if they can do that, that's going to be huge. And I remember you and I were talking about Mississippi State in the first game against LSU, and I was saying that could be a team, because Alabama usually has problems with Mississippi State because they've got a good defense. But I'm thinking maybe with Costello, they're going to have a hard time stopping that. If LSU couldn't, they might not be able to. And then they go out and they lose to Arkansas and they score 2 points against Kentucky. And I'm like, okay, I don't know anymore.
I know that's so Mike Leach though. Is just like that is his tenure. Washington State knows it. Texas Tech knows it. He will have an incredible week one week, and then all of a sudden that offense will disappear. They won't have any success, and it's just like, yeah, I'm interested to see how they how they go back. 'Cause I'm with you. I thought that first game against LSU is going to be legit more because we don't see that style of offense in the SEC.
Right.
We still the spread is coming for sure, but this is the absolute extreme. This is throw the ball 80 times. We're going to run the ball maybe 5 times at best, but this is throw.
Yep.
Teams aren't used to that. Teams are not in the SEC built to stop that, and I thought that was going to give more teams fits than. I mean, so far it's looking like a one-shot wonder. I think they'll still be around. They'll still be one of those pesky teams that will get an upset or two.
I think so. They'll figure it out. Yeah.
To be,
they could challenge against Alabama. But,
I think But to think, I guess, I mean, at least I don't know about you. I thought that, all right, maybe Mississippi State's a team we're sleeping on. Maybe they could be, the second best team in the SEC West. Maybe they could actually get, let's see, go 7-3, just something like that, where they really burst on the scene. But as we've seen so far, that is a roller coaster ride with Mike Leach, up and down, up and down. And it's going to be, throughout the tenure, it seems like going to be their kind of calling card.
I mean, when you talk about the SEC West, because I was thinking about that when I wrote my article. I'm thinking, okay, who's the team that can most likely challenge Alabama? To me, it jumped out Texas A&M. Now, I think Texas A&M, the only team they're going to lose to this year is Alabama. I think they had the jitters early on against Vandy. They only won by 5. Little red flag went up. Then they're down 14-0 and come right back, tie it. But then Alabama, you just can't stop them. Okay,
right.
So that's not a bad thing for them. They're not better than Alabama, but they went and they beat a very good Florida team. Okay, and so that's not a down on Florida. People, what's wrong with Florida? Florida got beat by a good team. I don't think Texas A&M is going to lose to anybody else this year. Okay?
You're buying in, huh? Interesting.
Well, look, they have 10 starters returning on defense. Kellen Mond is a good quarterback. They can run the ball. They got a good offense. They just seem to lack confidence. And I think that win over Florida is going to really give it to them. Okay, because they came back, but again, who else in the SEC West is going to be there? Auburn's not.
Yeah.
LSU isn't. Ole Miss isn't. Mississippi State isn't.
That's a fair point. I'm concerned about Kellen Mond. I know he played well, and he had some glimpses against Alabama. I just personally can't buy into him for the full year that he will play this good, and like you said, kind of be the reason why that they win some games. He played well against Florida, like you said, but I'm just not there as a 4-year guy. I feel like we've seen it. There's enough of a sample size to show that he can't do this consistently.
That's fair. But how about this? How about is Kyle Trask and Mac Jones really the same person? Because it's almost like they had the same exact thing happen to them. They were both guys who were there in the program. They get their shot as a junior. They take advantage of it, and now look at them. I mean, the two of them are both big, strong quarterbacks. They're both high completion percentage. They're both smart guys. They both had a lot of people doubting them, and both of them are probably, could be the two best quarterbacks in that conference right now.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. I honestly like Kyle Trask. I was a little skeptical about Mac Jones, to be honest, but so far, he's been phenomenal. He's absolutely been phenomenal for sure. So finish up with this, Mark. Again, if you haven't seen Mark's article previewing Alabama and Georgia, a ton of great stats, breaking down each side of the ball. WorldwideSportsRadio.com. It's a great preview to get you ready for that big matchup Saturday night on CBS. Who you got? You buying the Bulldogs and they go into Tuscaloosa, get an upset, go crazy here. Let's get some real chaos going in the SEC. Or is this going to be Alabama, no Nick Saban, no problem?
Okay, well, look, if Georgia can run the ball, okay, because they got a good running game, and that's going to be Alabama's weakness. They're allowing, I believe, 175 yards rushing a game, 150 yards rushing a game. They're one of the worst in the SEC overall on defense, but especially against the run. If they can run the ball and control the clock and keep Alabama off the field, they got a shot. If they don't, they have no shot because Alabama's that good on offense. You have not seen a team that can consistently score on you from everywhere. LSU last year was like that. But Alabama's look at all the weapons. Waddle, Mechie, Harris. Harris scored in 10 touchdowns in 10 straight games. And this isn't being a homer. This is being someone just watching them play. And, most of their games are over by the end of the first half. They've had a wide receiver that had 100-yard receiving in the first half, like in 5 of the last 6 games. So and these guys are always wide open. It's like gazelles in the Serengeti.
Yeah.
There's nobody near them. So and that's not saying Georgia's bad. I think Georgia's very good. I think they got a very good defense, but that's asking a lot to stop a team with that many weapons in their home stadium in a game that's really going to decide who's the king of the SEC.
Mark, I couldn't agree more. I'm with you. I like Georgia's defense. They can keep it close in the first half, but like you said, trying to slow down Alabama for 60 minutes and then not having a quick strike offense yourself to kind of keep up. If you have to go blow for blow, their best opportunity for Georgia is to, like I said, ball control, run the ball, keep Alabama's offense off the field, give your defense a breather. But I'm with you. I'm skeptical that Georgia can do it. And I'm rolling a big shock here. I'm rolling with the Tide on this one. We are in agreement. Mark, that was a lot of fun, man. Thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate your insight, buddy.
Always great talking to you, buddy. And hey, comedy called. It says he doesn't know you.
Yeah. No. I was looking for some. Mark, appreciate it, man. Talk to you soon.
God bless.
You as well. As Mark just alluded to, my comedy skills, need a lot of work. A lot of things need a lot of work, but especially the comedy skills, that's for sure. So we'll talk more about Alabama, Georgia, Hickey's Pickies. That's obviously one of the big games we got to talk about with my boy Nick. About a half hour or so, but when we come back, the Los Angeles Chargers are the latest example of why tanking doesn't work in the NFL. Explain why next. It is the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
We are back here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, taking it to 11 a.m. Eastern. Just did a great conversation with my guy, former Morning Boys co-host, the great Mark Everett Kelly. If you haven't seen his article, I'm telling you, a ton of great info on the WorldwideSportsRadio.com website, getting you ready and jacked up for everything you need to know about Georgia, Alabama this year. We'll discuss that game a little bit more with my guy, Nick McCool, for Hickey's Pickies. Just about a half hour or so, 10:40 Eastern, finish off the show. The Ryan Hickey Show Mongo, this is a real account, tweeted, do you think coronavirus will regret attacking Nick Saban? 100%. 100%. The virus is in big trouble. If there was one person you shouldn't have attacked, I would probably say it's Nick Saban. If you're the virus. Big mistake there. Big mistake. So we'll take your thoughts, take your tweets at Ryan Hickey Show, at WWSRN_radio, or on Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Yeah, Nick Saban's not the guy if you're the virus you go after. I know the virus, obviously, is infiltrated the entire world. Nick Saban probably one of the few men you leave alone. Say, all right, you know what, maybe we'll go somewhere else. I'm sure Nick has taken it personally. And if he could somehow beat up the virus, I'm sure he is already. So bad move by coronavirus to go attack Nick Saban. I'm sure, like you said, it is they'll be regretting it very soon. We do send our thoughts and prayers to Nick Saban. It seems like he's doing well so far. Hopefully that continues and he has a speedy recovery and everything goes well. I do want to get into tanking in the NFL. I think we saw the latest example on Monday Night Football with Justin Herbert and the Chargers of why tanking the NFL is not a smart strategy. 9 to 9 out of 100 times it doesn't work. And you're not setting yourself up for actual true success. And I want to use it, like I just said, Justin Herbert, especially from Monday Night Football, is the latest example here. We went 20 of 34 against the Saints in the Superdome. No fans, but still on the road. 264 yards, 4 touchdowns. First rookie in NFL history to throw for 4 touchdowns on Monday Night Football. On the season so far, since he took over for Tyrod Taylor, second game to the season, right? So he's had 4 starts so far. Justin Herbert has 68% completion percentage, throwing 9 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. So far this season, he has more passing yards than Big Ben, Carson Wentz, Matthew Stafford, Baker Mayfield. He's thrown more touchdown passes than 9 than Kyler Murray, Jared Goff, and obviously the number 1 overall pick in Joe Burrow. He has a higher completion percentage than Dak Prescott, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. Safe to say, when you put yourself in that company, or better statistically, you're having a pretty good year. Not going out on a limb. I understand the Chargers haven't won a game that Justin Herbert has started. But Herbert is having offensive and statistical success, in part and mostly because the Chargers didn't tank. The Chargers didn't tear it down, be as bad as possible, draft a quarterback, and expect it all to turn around. Herbert has a legitimate offense around him. Look at it. You have Keenan Allen, one of the most sure-handed, tremendous possession receivers in the NFL. He's honestly a vacuum. You throw it in that area, more times than not, Keenan Allen is coming down with it. So you have a sure-handed wide receiver to throw the ball to. Mike Williams is a great big body threat that you can throw the ball down the field with, and he'll go make some tremendous catches down the field. He's your vertical threat. We saw it Monday night. Threw a deep touchdown pass to him who was wide open. Game's on the line. Fourth quarter, Justin Herbert takes a shot deep. Mike Williams makes the catch. That catch should have won them the game. If your kicker can just hit a field goal. But a tremendous catch, and that's what you have when you have a deep, big body receiver that's a deep threat in Mike Williams. So you have two reliable wide receivers. You have Hunter Henry, who's very athletic at the tight end position. You have weapons to throw the ball to. There's room for improvement on the offensive line for sure. But they've also been hurt by injuries. You're not behind a ragtag makeshift offensive line. You have some sort of professionals on there to give you some sort of protection. So Herbert's having success in part because he has real wide receivers to throw the ball to. He's a solid tight end, and he has time to throw the ball. He's not dropping back and getting crushed every single play. Look at Justin Herbert's situation in Los Angeles to that of Joe Burrow's in Cincinnati so far. Joe Burrow has the worst offensive line in the NFL. Already through 5 games, he's been sacked 22 times. You know what he's on pace for? If he plays a full 16 games, if the offensive line doesn't improve any sort of bit, Joe Burrow is on track to get sacked 70 times this year. 70! Which would be the third highest in NFL history. That is a record-breaking pace for your number 1 overall pick. And look, while we are throwing praise, we're throwing bouquets to Justin Herbert because he's been playing well so far. Right? In all 4 of his starts, the Chargers aren't losing because of him. He's been aggressive. He's been throwing the ball down the field. He's making dynamic plays. And for all the questions maybe concerning, maybe Justin Herbert, needs some time to adjust to the NFL game. He has to learn the playbook. He's kind of get acclimated. This is going to be, he's one of those quarterbacks that could use a year off to get used to the speed of the NFL. He's come in and looked comfortable. He's looked confident. He's throwing the ball down the field with ease. He's accurate. He's taking shots. All the criticisms and all the concerns you could say coming out of Chargers camp of why Tyrod Taylor will be the starter over Justin Herbert to start the season has proved to be false. Herbert doesn't look overwhelmed. Again, he looks cool, calm, in control. Seems to be absorbing what's going on with the offense. So that's what we're talking about when it comes to Justin Herbert. What are we talking about when it comes to Joe Burrow? The biggest debate, the biggest question mark, the biggest arguing point when it comes to Joe Burrow so far this season is whether the Bengals should legitimately consider benching him, not because of his poor play, not because he's overwhelmed or doesn't understand the speed of the NFL or just is struggling. It's because they don't want to get him killed. They don't want an Andrew Luck Part 2 on their hands because this guy gets hurt and hit so much that he just can't play, can't be the same player. So look at that. One team is god-awful in the Bengals. I would say they tank, but they just have a terrible, god-awful roster. They have 5 guys who couldn't be really any worse at their jobs in the offensive line. Joe Burrow's paying the price for it. You look at the Chargers, they have a really good roster. They were taken down, unfortunately, by the same quarterback that is now quarterbacking my team in Philip Rivers of the Colts. They didn't tank. They didn't tear it down. They didn't trade off any asset possible that had skill in order to get a quarterback. They played hard. They lost a lot of games, but it wasn't because of trying. It was because of lack of talent. And you see, when you insulate when you insulate a young quarterback with just not an all-world class of receivers or offensive line, just something competent, something borderline, something that passes You see, if that quarterback is young and has talent, they will succeed. That, to me, so far, through 5 games, is why Justin Herbert is a leader in the clubhouse for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Because his cast around him, the surrounding cast around him, is competent. Whereas Joe Burrow is putting him in harm's way. I like T. Higgins as a receiver. I think that him and Burrow have a nice connection so far. But that offensive line is so bad, so brutal. That even though you have a good, dynamic, young running back in Joe Mixon, you have a veteran receiver in A.J. Green. I like Tyler Boyd. But they have some decent skill sets, skill position players, I should say. But that offensive line is so bad, can't protect him, that we are legitimately now concerned for Joe Burrow's health. That he'll be able to make it through a season. That's why looking at how the Chargers are handling Justin Herbert, how the Bengals are handling Joe Burrow, it's why I love what the Dolphins are doing with Tua Tagovailoa. You see the two situations. One team, when you have protection and players to throw the ball to, they thrive in Justin Herbert. One team, you can't protect Joe Burrow to save your life, and you're on pace to allow almost a league record amount of sacks. Trying to turn him into David Carr. That is not sustainable, which is why I love what the Dolphins are doing so far with Tua Tagovailoa. Take your time. Be smart. You have 2 rookies on that offensive line. Make sure they have their feet set. Make sure they basically are used to now the speed of the NFL game. Make sure that when you put Tua in, you are confident they can protect him. Because you want a Joe Burrow, you don't want a Joe Burrow situation if you're the Dolphins. You want a Justin Herbert situation. You want to put Tua in there and have him benefit from the talent around him, not put Tua in there and expect to elevate everyone around him. Because the situation surrounding quarterbacks, young quarterbacks especially, is just as important as the skill of the quarterbacks themselves. Let's take a quick look around the NFL at the best quarterbacks in the league and their situation surrounding them. Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Aaron Rodgers. All of these guys were drafted and taken by teams that weren't tanking. That didn't put them in positions to where they basically had to be the offense themselves. They put them in positions where their offensive line was competent. They had good skill position players around them. They had good coaching to coach them up, to put them in positions to succeed. I don't understand why tanking, and I said this before and I'll say it again, I don't understand why tanking is such a popular thought process, why it's such a popular move for bad teams. Because, again, what we've seen, Patrick Mahomes, right? Everyone wants. Well, the Chiefs traded up to get Patrick Mahomes. They won the division with Alex Smith. They had already a system set in place. Well, all they needed was a quarterback to take them to the next level. Russell Wilson with the Seahawks. Lamar Jackson with the Ravens. Aaron Rodgers with the Packers. All these guys were drafted and put in great situations to succeed. They weren't drafted expecting them to be the savior. They weren't drafted expecting them to basically be the entirety of the offense. You go win us games. Forget the fact that your offensive line stinks. Forget the fact that your receivers stink, tight ends stink, running back stinks. You need to win games. That's not sustainable. It's not practical. So that's why, again, I don't understand why fans are so quick to root for tanking. Why Jets fans specifically want to be as bad as possible in order to try to draft Trevor Lawrence, thinking that will turn it around. I'm legitimately nervous about Trevor Lawrence going to the Jets. I am. You look at that offensive line, you look at the skill positions they have around him. What makes you think Trevor Lawrence will have some success? Even if he's talented. I think he could be Joe Burrow Part 2. You're getting killed, you're getting crushed. It's tough to have success because guess what? The guys you throw the ball to aren't good. The running back you hand the ball off to isn't good. I mean, you do drop back, you don't have any time because your offensive line stinks. The situation around young quarterbacks is just as important, maybe if not more important, than the actual skill of the young quarterback you draft. Because they can have skill, they can have talent. But if they're put in a position where they can't succeed, where the offensive-minded head coach just isn't good, the offensive line can't protect you, the receivers can't catch the ball, the running back isn't a threat, it is impossible to succeed. Look at the blueprint for good teams and consistently good teams. They didn't do it by tanking. They didn't do it by losing as much as possible, drafting a quarterback, and expecting that quarterback to basically play hero ball. It's a process. You build up the offensive line. You get some skill position players. Try to get some pieces on your defense. It's not get the quarterback and hope that they could basically play 1 versus 11 and be a miracle worker. Look at Deshaun Watson so far in Houston. The Texans are 1-4. Their head coach is fired. There was playoff aspirations, expectations this year. How come we're not criticizing Deshaun Watson? How come there's no talk of questioning, is Deshaun Watson really that good? The reason why is because you see Deshaun Watson is one of the elite quarterbacks when he has time to throw the ball, when he has good weapons to throw the ball to. You take a top 3 wide receiver away in DeAndre Hopkins. You put an offensive line together that's terrible. And you have injury-riddled running backs and small wide receivers to throw the ball to. Guess what? You're not going to succeed. No one is doubting Deshaun Watson's talent. But as you see, even the most talented quarterbacks in the league don't have success when the surrounding cast around them sucks. Flat out. When they aren't good, you can't have success no matter how good the quarterback is. If you put Patrick Mahomes with the Jets, Russell Wilson with the Jets, you think they're still Russell Wilson? You think they're still Patrick Mahomes? No. So Justin Herbert again in the Chargers. The latest example on Monday night. When you have a system in place where you have competent pieces all around your young quarterback, that's how you put them in positions to succeed. The Bengals didn't make a mistake and draft the wrong quarterback. Joe Burrow is still going to be really good, and I think Joe Burrow will have a better career than Justin Herbert, I do. But so far, the situation around Joe Burrow is so dire, is so bad, that he can't get out of it. One player can't make up for just the terribleness of the 10 guys around him. So again, tanking doesn't work. It's not a good strategy. It's not a winning philosophy. So I'm curious your thoughts. Worldwide Sports Network on Facebook, WWSRN_radio on Twitter, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter. Are you still a fan of tanking? If you're a Jets fan, if you're a Giants fan, if you're a Falcons fan, are you trying to strip it all down, be as bad as possible to draft Trevor Lawrence? To maybe draft Justin Fields if you like him better? Because I'm legitimately nervous. The Jets get the number 1 pick, and it's Trevor Lawrence. I think we'll be sitting here in 2 years, 3 years, saying the same thing about Sam Darnold, or saying the same thing about Trevor Lawrence, or saying about Sam Darnold. Can't overcome the situation. Just not good enough, not winning, because the team around him is terrible. So get your thoughts. Again, Worldwide Sports Network on Facebook, WWSRN_radio on Twitter, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter. When we come back, do a little baseball. NLCS Game 4 tonight. Braves are up 2-1 in the series. Clayton Kershaw on the bump. Is this the most important start of Clayton Kershaw's career? I'll tell you why that answer is yes when the Ryan Hickey Show returns right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Time to talk a little baseball here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. I feel bad. I'm a huge baseball fan. Big Mets fan, which just stinks because they stink. But I do feel bad for baseball. This playoffs has been great, has been exciting. I love playoff baseball. I think it's one of the best postseasons in all sports because it's just, you don't get that same intensity that you do in other sports in the 3rd inning, in the 2nd inning. Like, there is legitimate anticipation and pressure in the 2nd inning of a game. In the baseball, you just don't get, in the 2nd quarter of a basketball game or the 1st quarter of a football game. Just that tension you do feel. And while, there has been too much attention paid to baseball, we do go to Game 4 of the NLCS tonight. Dodgers are down 2-1 against the Braves. And Clayton Kershaw, supposed to start Game 2, had some back spasms, scratching that start, is going to pitch tonight in Game number 4. And I want to discuss with you quickly here. Is this the biggest start of Clayton Kershaw's career? Big statement. He's pitched in World Series games. Now, he's pitched in a ton of postseason games. Is this the biggest start of his career? In the NLCS Game 4 against the Braves, I'm honestly saying yes. I'm saying yes because guess what? Obviously, the obvious statement here. If the Dodgers lose, if Kershaw gets roughed up, if he doesn't pitch well, the Dodgers go down 3-1. And why that's significant? Obviously, not just because you're one game away from elimination, duh. But because this year, more than ever, right? The Dodgers have had great rosters, great lineups for the past few years and have fallen short. This year especially, because they got Mookie Betts to add with the lineup of Cody Bellinger, Corey Seager, I like Max Muncy. Justin Turner's still a tremendous hitter. Walker Buehler has really emerged to be one of the great pitchers for this staff. Expectations were World Series bust more than ever. I think it was honestly more of a shoo-in. Once you get Mookie Betts, go over the top to really put yourself by far and away the best baseball team around. It's World Series or bust. It is World Series or bust. This is a team that has dominated the entire regular season. 60 games, I understand. Small sample size. It's a third of a normal season, essentially. That doesn't stop the fact that basically the Dodgers were good at everything. First in runs scored in the league. First in home runs. So they can do it with hitting. They can do it with pitching. First in team ERA. There's really no weaknesses in this Dodger team through this lineup or through their pitching staff. So to not even make the World Series this year more than ever would be an abject failure. They have, to be fair, underachieved basically every single year. Maybe we'll give them a pass for the 2017 World Series with the Astros. They have gotten to World Series and lost. They have plenty of times not even gotten to the World Series, lost in series they shouldn't have done. But because you go out and you add Mookie Betts, to add a top 3 player in baseball to your already deep lineup, there's no excuse this year. If you can't even make it to the World Series, it's a massive, massive, massive failure. So not only is the pressure on Clayton Kershaw to prevent the Dodgers from going down 3-1 in this series, as we know, Clayton Kershaw has routinely struggled in the postseason. His regular season ERA, 2.43. One of the best regular season pitchers we've ever seen in history. Dominant. Flat out dominant for a very long time. But that 2.43 ERA in the regular season balloons 2 runs to 4.23 in the postseason. He's routinely come up small in the biggest postseason moments when the Dodgers needed him most. There's plenty of examples. Plenty of examples I can give you. On too many. That's part of the issue. There's too many examples I can give you about Clayton Kershaw falling short in the postseason. I'll give you 2 real quick. Last year, NLDS against the Washington Nationals. Team that squeaked into the playoffs. Barely got in. Game 5, Clayton Kershaw's on the mound. A chance to redeem himself, really, for the first time. Give himself some good positivity coming out of the playoffs. Be a reason why the Dodgers win, not lose. In a big moment. Give up back-to-back home runs in the 8th inning to tie the game. In a game the Nationals eventually won to advance to the NLCS. Versus the Red Sox in 2018 in the World Series, lost both of those starts. This is a massive, massive, massive start, and a lot of pressures on Clayton Kershaw's shoulders. I know, I will admit, hand up, I was wrong. Going to a 60-game season, I thought this season was going to be a joke. I thought no one would take it seriously. It wouldn't feel like a real year, and that way, you wouldn't get mad about team losing, or you wouldn't feel pressure, or we wouldn't take the World Series champion seriously. I was wrong. I think the pressure's still been there. The intensity, the excitement is still there. This feels, especially postseason-wise, like a real postseason. Forget the fact that it's only 60 games. This still feels like a real postseason. So that pressure's still there. The expectations are still there, despite the fact that it's a weird year. Despite the fact that the regular season is only a third of the length it normally is. Not winning the World Series would be a massive failure. Getting shelled again in a big spot would be a massive failure for Clayton Kershaw. So it starts tonight. It starts with Clayton Kershaw on the bump tonight. Can he shake off those postseason demons? Because that's really going to be his legacy. He is what Peyton Manning used to be before he won a Super Bowl. And great in the regular season, choke artist in the playoffs. Time in and time out. Will light up the scoreboard, will light up the stat sheet when he's on the mound in the regular season. As soon as the postseason comes in, he chokes. Chokes. Not once, not twice, a bunch of times. Clayton Kershaw is dangerously close to becoming what Peyton Manning could have been if he never won a Super Bowl. So that narrative changes, or could change, I should say, tonight. Because not only for Clayton Kershaw, this Dodger team is facing a lot of pressure. You go down 3-1, you're in big trouble. You can't get to the World Series when you basically almost got a cheat code in Mookie Betts to ensure that you get yourself to the World Series. Would be a massive, massive, massive failure. And up to this point, one of the biggest failures in Dodger history, considering the team they have ready to go, and then unable to do so. So it's going to be a very, very, very important start tonight for Clayton Kershaw and the Dodgers. I'm very excited to see how that goes. So get your thoughts if you have any thoughts about Clayton Kershaw. Worldwide Sports Radio Network, WWSR_radio. And when we come back, a Thursday special to close the show. I am so excited. Hickey's Pickies, week number 6. With the great Nick McCool, we'll get his thoughts on a great slate of games when the Ryan Hickey Show returns right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And we are back here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, 1040. Hickey's Pickies, always one of the best, most fun segments that I love and look forward to each and every single week here. I'm very excited for our next guest who will be joining us, our big celebrity guest picker for this week in week number 6. A man who, if you are listening right now, can hear the song Panama. We played it on Monday. I figured it's time to bring it out again on Thursday, because if you missed the show on Monday, Panama is a special song in my heart because I've only done karaoke once in my life. It was in college. It was to this song. And it couldn't have gone any worse. Like, literally, it could not have gone any worse than it did. So I figured, you know what? This man was here to witness it. We had a good laugh reminiscing of just how bad it was. So, Nick, we welcome you in here. Bring back that horrible memory of trying to sing Panama at Permane Brothers back in college. But welcome in, buddy. Excited to have you on the show. How are you today?
Hickey, what's going on, brother? I got one compliment, one complaint, and one request.
Oh, wow. So, a trifecta. Let's hear it.
So I'll go with the compliment first. You're fit. I love your fit. It's amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I figured you were coming on. I know you're a big vest man. I figured, you know what, maybe I'll dress to impress today.
So that's the compliment. Then we're going to go with the complaint next.
Okay.
I have 5 less minutes of airtime than I was told yesterday. So that's one. That's another one.
What?
It's 10:45. I was told 10:40.
Okay. That is very fair. That is very, I can't complain.
2. And then the request is, and this one's been on me for weeks, but I was waiting until I was actually on the show to say it. Can we not call it Hickey's Pickies, at least for today? Can we make it something cooler than that?
Wow. You're hating it, huh?
The Hickey's Pickies, yeah. I'm not a fan. Not to bash you on your own show, but you know.
No, I love it. What would you
call it something else for today? We can't do Hickey's Pickies.
What would you suggest? Like, just
I'll let you pick. It's either Hicks Picks with Hick, or Picks by Hick. But I guess it wouldn't be Picks by Hick because there's a guest. So maybe Picks with Hick.
How about this? We'll do a very special Hick and Nick reunion. Picks with Hick and Nick. How about that?
That's fine.
Nick and Hick's picks. Picks with Hick and Nick. We'll do that.
Anything's better than Hickey's Pickies. So. And you know who the happiest guy in the world is right now is Joe Hickey, which is that I'm on right now. So that's what's making my day, is that I'm making Joe Hickey's day.
I hope I gotta text him. I hope he's listening.
He didn't even tell him I was on. Oh man, he's gonna be so mad.
I know. He doesn't. He's not the biggest listener, so that would honestly probably would have got him to listen. Like, that's the point of listening for him.
He definitely would have listened if he knew.
I know. I got to shoot him a text before it's too late, or we'll have him replay. We'll get those. Get those viewers
another
out.
Time too. I'll be on more.
Yes, 100%. All right. So it is week number 6 of Picks with Hick and Nick, a spinoff of Hickey's Pickies, because the celebrity guest hates the name. So we will cater. Nick, we cater to you, buddy. This show is for the people.
Though. That's the thing, though. It's so. I will say that name is so you. It's just, I don't know.
It's not. I will be honest.
I can't say it on air. I don't think.
Oh, jeez. All right. It's not even I didn't even come up with it. It's not even an original name.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's when we used to work at Sirius XM. Two of the hosts just did like a joke and said, "Oh, let's do some Hickey's Pickies," because we always do Pac-12 picks on Friday, and I would lay it out for them. So it's not even my, to be fair, it's not even my thought. I would probably went with Hick's Picks, but I figured about Hickey's Pickies. We'll just run with it and see what happens. You're the first person to complain. Now you're really the only person to comment on the name, so I'm really 0 for 1.
At least that you've heard of, at least.
That's true. Someone bold enough to say it to my face. So, right, everyone's probably thinking it, but you at least are the first person to say so. So, without any further ado, week number 6 of Picks with Hick and Nick. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I understand I'm up against a lot of competition, too, because your girlfriend, I guess our girlfriend DM'd me on Instagram this morning and said she went 5-0. So, I guess I'm battling for second here.
She is not shy. That is correct. The standings so far, your boy, yours truly, not to brag, 16-8, no big deal. Now,
that's excellent.
To be fair, the upset special has hit twice. I've gotten lucky with 2 outright winners. So 12-8 normally, but with the bonus points, 16-8. You're right. Lauren Clark, the charcuterie goddess herself, 5-0. She went 5-0 week number 1. My guy Maldi 1-4. Tyler Kolakowski 2-3, and the most recent Hawaiian Dan celebrity guest picker 2-4. So a lot of under 500. Lauren's the only one to not only go undefeated, but be over 500 so far. So, you have a chance here to really cement your legacy and be one of the top-ranked guys.
See what we can do, man. Let's go.
And finally, because of the upset special, you have a chance actually to take over first place if you want. If you go perfect here, the first place spot is open. So without further ado, we'll start.
I think I would still let Lauren win anyway. I think I would let her have it.
A true gentleman. Look at this guy. Yeah. A gentleman and a scholar. Look at you. We'll go in the college ranks here. We only have one game this week that we're talking about. Biggest game in the college year so far. Number 6. Number 3, Georgia, getting 6 points on the road at number 2, Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Which way are we leaning here, King?
So you know what? Tidbit on this, actually, is that the line currently is 4. After the Nick Saban news was announced, people have been betting Georgia, and I can't tell. I think a little bit of it is that Saban has COVID, so that's one. I don't think that's as big of a factor, though, because he's still been doing all the game planning and stuff all week, so I don't think that's as big a factor. But I wonder, too, if people are thinking, if he has it, then maybe other people on the team will also get it, and they'll be out, and that's why the line comes crashing down. But my thinking, too, is if depending on how many people are out, then if anything, they'll just cancel the game. So
right.
The line currently is sitting at 4. So if we're judging it at 6, I'll go ahead and take Georgia. But if it's at 4, and if it stays at 4, I actually might put a bet myself on Alabama.
Interesting.
So I don't even. So what do we want to grade it at 6 or 4?
We'll go 6. I was looking yesterday. We'll take the number that I got, but before it was bet down, we'll keep it there. We'll keep it at 6. I already tweeted it out, so I'm not going to try to change the lines and all of a sudden put some fugaziness out there. So we will keep it at 6. So with that, you're going to take Georgia with the points?
If we're grading it at 6, you know what? I still think I'm gonna lay it with Alabama, even though the value with the 2 points. I'm gonna lay it with Alabama. I'm gonna take Alabama.
I'm with you. Like, is it? I almost find it weird that like you said, like with Nick Saban coming, having it be known that he has COVID and obviously won't be on the sideline this week. I almost feel like that's a more reason to bet Alabama. Like people, like you said, are betting now Georgia, and that's putting the line down. I feel like I would be almost more motivated because of the way they just got shredded by the frat god himself, Lane Kiffin, on Saturday night down in Oxford. Like, there's no way a Nick Saban defense is going to get shredded twice. And now that he has COVID, I almost feel like he's even more pissed off than normal, where he's going to just be like, some coach is going to have some sort of Zoom, iPad, just running around practice, having Nick Saban just yell at everyone. I think I feel.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I feel way more confident in Alabama after hearing Nick Saban has COVID than maybe I did even beforehand. I'm taking Alabama either way, but I almost feel I feel like this is going to be even a more inspired effort to do it for their head coach.
I don't think that the impact, all it is again, he still did the whole game planning. He was there the entire week other than yesterday when he tested. And he's still going to be part of the game plan. He's still home doing all the work and stuff like that. And I'm sure during halftime, he'll still be able to FaceTime in or do something and make adjustments and stuff. The only difference is that he's not physically on the sideline. So I don't think that the Saban thing it should be as big an impact as people think.
I'm totally with you. I am totally with you, like you said, right. The game plan all of a sudden doesn't just stop. Like, the practices just don't go to crap because all of a sudden Nick Saban is not there for a few days. I'm with you. So we both agree. Alabama +6, we're laying the points. Bama will get it done. Let's go to the NFL here, King, for 4 games. The Browns are getting 3 points on the road at the Steelers. Which one are you thinking? I'm
taking Pittsburgh. I'm going to lay the 3 with Pittsburgh here. I think, especially, 3, if it goes 3.5, then, I'd probably stay away. But Pittsburgh, I like it 3. Home field is not, obviously without the fans and stuff. It's really probably only 1.5. So this line is saying that Pittsburgh's better than by 1.5. Which I think is fair. I actually think that they might be slightly better than the Browns on that. I think Cleveland's in a little bit of trouble because Pittsburgh has the number 1 run D in the league, and if Cleveland can't run the ball, I do not trust Baker back there throwing it around all day, especially with the pass rush that Pittsburgh has. I just think Cleveland relies on the run to set up everything else, and I don't think they're going to be as effective on the ground this week. So, and I think Baker's actually a little banged up too. I think he got a rib injury towards the end of the game. So I'm going to lay the points with Pittsburgh -3.
I'm totally with you. I mean, everything I was going to say, you said. I couldn't agree more. I think this has like a reality check written to me all over it. Now, I'm not saying the Browns are bad. I think the Browns will make the playoffs. But it's like 4-1. Everything's going really well. This is kind of, maybe you're starting to feel yourself. I think this is a game where there's a reality check that say, hey, listen, Pittsburgh is still, kings in this rivalry. There's still, you got to go through the Steelers and the Ravens if you want to be anywhere near the division crown. I think this is a game where, like you said, the defense just suffocates the Browns. Baker Mayfield, in that second half against the Colts, he had a nice first half. The Colts defense is pretty good. They really, really, really shut him down. Only 2 completions in the second half of that game. And the Browns, honestly, were lucky to win that game. If it was anyone other than Phillip Rivers, I think that the Browns would have lost that game. But, of course, Phillip freaking Rivers, man. That guy just giving points away. So I'm with you. Reality check, I'm taking the Steelers, laying the 3 points at home. This is a tough one. How about this one? Packers -1 at the Buccaneers. Packers playing some of the best football in all the NFL. And obviously the Bucs with Tom Brady are getting better, but had that ugly performance on Thursday night last week. What are you thinking here, King?
So I don't love this one, but I will take the Bucs. Green Bay does actually, they look like the best team in the league right now, as Kansas City's obviously slipped up against the Raiders, had some trouble against the Chargers and whatnot. I just think maybe it's more of a motivation thing for them at this point, but they'll be okay. But Green Bay does look like the best team right now, but I feel like Tampa at home getting a point. The look-ahead line was actually Tampa Bay laying 3. And what's happened since last week, I know Tampa had that bad loss to Chicago. And Green Bay had them coming off the bye, but I don't think Green Bay's seen a defense like this all year. Tampa has top 3 defense in the NFL, and I think Tampa's going to bounce back. So while I don't love it, I think there's at least some value on Tampa getting a point at home.
Interesting. See, I agree with you. I think the Packers are playing right now like one of the best teams in all of football, and Aaron Rodgers is not only red hot. You know what I love about Aaron Rodgers, too? He's flexing on people, not just, on the field, right? Just throwing touchdowns all over the place. He's going on Pat McAfee show saying basically, down years for me or career years for most quarterbacks. I think he's feeling himself. He's feeling good. He's buying into the system. He knows he's playing really well. I'm going to ride it. I think this is one of those teams where I'm with you. I think the Buccaneers, in the end, like when we come to the end of the season, will be one of the better teams in the NFC. But right now, because the Packers are white hot, because Aaron Rodgers is feeling it, I think they come off the bye strong and hot. I'm still a little skeptical with the injuries that the Bucs have. They're at full strength that they can kind of get things going in the right direction here. So I'll roll Packers laying 1 on the road at Tampa Bay. Our first disagreement there. You're going the Bucs. I will take the Packers. Hot Rod. We'll call him Hot Rod. Gets it done. Hot Aaron Rodgers, that's for sure.
I thought that was the kicker on your team.
It is. Well, I'm gonna give it to them both. I love Hot Rod, the kicker on the Colts, but Aaron Rodgers is playing. He's one of the hottest quarterbacks that there is right now. If it wasn't for Russell Wilson, he might be in their MVP conversation. He might be the MVP. So Aaron Rodgers.
Those are 1 and 2 easily.
Yeah. Feeling it. Go Pack Go. Feeling it on the road in Tampa Bay. Sunday night game here. How about this one? Rams 3.5 point favorites on the road in San Francisco. The time to panic if you're a 49ers fan.
It definitely is time to panic, and I don't love this one either, but I'm going to take the points with San Francisco at home. The Rams look amazing, too. They really do. And the 49ers coming off an embarrassing loss. I just think coming off the embarrassing loss on the TV, Sunday night game, I like to, back teams a lot of times like that where everyone knows they're embarrassed and then they come back and play, on the spotlight game. Like, if this was a 1 o'clock or a 4 o'clock game, it might be a little different. But the fact that, they're in the spotlight, their defense scares me because they are so banged up on defense. They're getting nobody back, and the Rams look real good. And what was I going to say? The 49ers, they are getting guys back on offense. I know Mostert came back last week. Debo is still starting to get a little bit work back in. So they are getting guys back there a little bit. And the Rams also, their travel schedule, they've gone to the East Coast 3 times already. I know they came back and absolutely won big last week against the Redskins, but I'm gonna take the points at home reluctantly with the 49ers.
Interesting. I'm going to roll with the Rams here. To me, the Rams' philosophy with backing them is the same way I'm backing the Packers. Just when they're playing this well so far, I don't think either the Buccaneers with the Packers or now the 49ers with the Rams could just slow them down. I mean, there's a legitimate question right now. Does Jimmy G stink? I figured that's where you were going to go. You're not going to pick a quarterback that stinks in Jimmy G. But like you said, the 49ers are so banged up that I'm still concerned that even though they are getting guys back, they still have to not only just get guys back, get them in the flow of the offense, get their rhythm going. So Jimmy Garoppolo he really can't get any worse than he did last week. The ankle should get better, whether it's truly the ankle injury that led to his bad play or not. He should, in theory, be better, but I'm just going to ride the hot teams right now, to be honest. The Rams are playing really well. Like you said, they are, one maybe blown pass interference call away from being undefeated so far. They're playing really well. They're traveling offensively and defensively. Jared Goff's having a rebirth this year. So I'm just going to roll with the Rams. I'm going to roll with Sean McVay. I think they'll keep the offense going. I think they go into San Francisco against a banged-up defense, against a banged-up team, continue to roll, win, and cover the 3.5 points. Our second disagreement. You go the Bucs, I go the Packers. I go the Rams, you go the 49ers. We'll go one last game here. Monday night, a doubleheader on Monday night. We'll go the Chiefs giving 4 on the road in Buffalo against the Bills. This is a tough one. Which one are you thinking here?
Do I have 10 seconds to or are we going to get a grace period? Because 11 o'clock, it's.
No. Listen, the world stops for Nick McCool. If you want to go till 11:30, we will be here until 11:30. You, sir, the king. We already changed the segment name for you. It's Picks with Hick and Nick. So you're changing the segment name. We are going to go as long as you want to go.
I just wanted to make sure there wasn't a hard cutoff. As it turns out,
there's no hard out. Not for the king.
Okay. So I'm going to take Buffalo here at home getting 4. The Chiefs, Buffalo getting smoked the other night. Again, another thing that I think works great in our favor here. Kansas City, I do ultimately think is the best team in the league, but currently they are not playing that way. I think Buffalo is also a top 7 team in the league right now. And if they're at home getting 4 points, the very tricky thing with Buffalo for me is coming into the year, I thought Buffalo was going to be the number 1 defense in the league, and they've been everything but that. They've been absolutely horrendous on defense, and against the Chiefs, that might be a little bit of a problem you would think of with Mahomes and all the weapons they have, but I just think strictly that Buffalo right now is about on par, or maybe not on par, maybe a little bit less than Kansas City. So if they're at home getting 4 points, I'm going to take it. I think that's a good bet.
We have another disagreement here. I'm glad. Usually, honestly, a lot of the picks so far have been a lot of agreements. This is really, I think me and you have the biggest or most disagreements so far. I'm taking the Chiefs, and honestly, for the exact reason that you laid out. The Bills' defense is really scaring me so far. And I think, too, if this was a Thursday night game, if this game was scheduled to be tonight, I think the short week would have benefited the Bills more, especially being the home team. But because this game now is pushed to Monday night, because the Bills are still coming off of what is, I guess, a short week playing on Tuesday, now having to play on Monday night, I just think the Chiefs coming off that loss against the Raiders is almost like a nice wake-up call, right? They've looked okay, like you said. They've been struggling the past few games, not really looking like world beaters, we'll say, that they looked on Monday night in that first half against the Ravens. But I think it's almost like a good reset, a good wake-up call. Hey, listen, we just can't basically sleepwalk through this season. We have to get up. We have to play really well. And to be honest, I want to buy into the Bills. I really do like the Bills. The one thing that scares me, and I still wasn't totally bought in, was Josh Allen. And now you go into a game where you have the high-flying offense of the Chiefs coming to town. Josh Allen struggles against a competent defense in the Titans because so far through the first 4 games, and the Rams have a decent defense, but other than that, they weren't really asking Josh Allen to go against these great defenses to really, be the game winner that he is. Now, when you're going to go toe-to-toe, in theory, what a game could be a shootout, I'm just concerned I still don't trust Josh Allen to make all the throws necessary to keep up with the Patrick Mahomes-led offense, to where you're not going to have 1 or 2 bad mistakes. And we saw bad Josh Allen, rookie year Josh Allen, in Tuesday night against the Titans, making some bad throws, making some bad reads, and almost looking lost at times. And now I think because that was really the first true good opponent they played, I'm concerned. Well, I guess we'll give the Rams, but defensively at least, I'm concerned that this is more the Josh Allen that still is there. The MVP Josh Allen that everyone loved the first 4 weeks. I think you got to punt the brakes a little bit, especially considering the defense that they played so far. So, long-winded way of saying I think the long week benefits the Chiefs more. I'm still not completely sold on Josh Allen being able to keep up with Patrick Mahomes in this offense. I think that loss for the Chiefs is a great wake-up call for Kansas City. I'm going Kansas City laying the 4 in Buffalo. I do think they get the job done. So to recap, we're both on Alabama laying the 6 points. We're both on the Steelers laying the 6 points. I'm taking the I'm taking the Packers -1. You're taking the Bucs +1. I'm taking the Rams over the 49ers. You're taking the 49ers. And finally, you're taking the Bills getting 4. I am taking the Chiefs laying 4. All right, sir.
Both teams coming off their worst performances of
yes,
the year. So
that's a good point. That's a very good point.
It'll be interesting.
Definitely be interesting for sure. That's a great point. What do we think of upset special? This is where really you can separate yourself and make some real damage. Upset special time. What are we thinking?
So I don't have a ton here only because, there's not a ton of big spread NFL games, and I know more NFL than college. And I'm definitely not taking any of the big dogs in the NFL. I don't like any of the games. I'm certainly not taking the Jets over the Dolphins. So I'm going to go to the college ranks, and I have not watched a lot of college football this year, but this one just caught my eye, obviously, and fits right up my alley. Hickey, I think you got to know where I'm going with this. I am taking Mike Leach in Mississippi State at home against Texas A&M. They're getting 6.5. I mean, all I need to say is Mike Leach. Just my favorite coach in all of sports. He's just so cool. That's my handicap. That's my handicap. I have no thing about the game at all. It's just I saw it and it's Mike Leach, so it fit the criteria.
Mike freaking Leach, dude! I went with him for week 1 against against LSU. Paid out big time. That upset special hit and covered. I know you were a frat god Mike Leach fan. I love that. I should have known that was coming. I thought, honestly, when you were saying that, you were going to pick, like, Louisville over Notre Dame or something like that.
Probably a good pick.
Should have known. So you're going Mike Leach and Mississippi State. You said, was it 6.5 against Texas A&M?
Is what I saw, yeah. Mm-hmm. Primetime
letdown for Jimbo Fisher. That's a good spot right there. Coming off a 2-point game against, Kentucky? That is, a primetime game right there. Primetime spot for an upset. I like it. So you're going Mississippi State. I will stay in the college ranks. I can't believe I'm doing this because this team has been so hot and cold. I'm going to take Pitt. Going up against Miami. It's a noon game at Miami. Pitt's getting 13.5 points. Their defense has been really good this year. Their offense is a mess for Pitt. But I just feel like this is a team where Miami just got their doors blown off. I think they really came back down to earth. People really saw the true Miami team, how big of a gap there still is between Clemson and everybody else. And now coming off that blowout, humbling experience. Pitt's defense is really tough. Their offense, like I said, is a mess. But they can play defense. Pat Narduzzi, tool bag. I really don't like it that I'm backing
real quick,
Narduzzi,
but to throw you off.
No, you're good.
Well, it is to throw you off, but Lauren just liked my Insta DM back at her. You can continue. I just want to tell you that to throw you off.
She also wrote on Facebook, mind you, to throw you off. She said the first place spot is not open. She's already calling you out, saying you have no shot, essentially.
I already said I'm giving it to her if I do one.
Well, I'll still put you in first place if you go 6-0 or 7-0. If we get a big Mike Leach special here, you'll be in first place. Don't you worry. But yeah, I'm going Pitt. Stupid. I don't really like Pitt, but like you said, the NFL slate was brutal. I couldn't get myself to go with the Bengals over the Colts. I couldn't go with myself to go with the Jets against the Dolphins in the Adam Gase revenge game. So
Denver against New England, there just wasn't.
I'll hitch my wagons to the Pitt Panthers, 13.5 against Miami. Well, the good news is before we get out of here, Nick, my dad is listening. He said, I like Hick and Nick, so maybe I have to change the name now to Hick's Picks or Picks with Hick and Nick. Like, even when you're not on, just Picks with Hick and Nick, no matter who's on, insert here. But
dude, you do what you got to do. I just, I at least as long as I'm on, I had.
Listen, I love it. You come in here, you mark your territory. I listen. That's why you're the man. We always love having you on. Nick, been a lot of fun. I love the disagreements. We'll see who ends up on top this week. Thanks so much for coming on, man. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me and continued success, man. I love seeing you do well. So yeah.
You're always welcome. The phone line, you have the direct line, you have the hotline number. So anytime you want to talk about anything, the door is open for you.
I love it, man. All right. Have a good week. I'll talk to you, all right?
Later, buddy. That is the great Nick McCool. I love the disagreements. I love the disagreements. So we'll see. One of us is going to do really well. One of us is going to do really, really, really bad. Probably knowing my luck, it's going to be a rough week for your boy. So maybe I would ride, if you are listening to these picks, maybe ride with Nick. We appreciate Nick coming on. We appreciate Mark coming on. We appreciate all of you for listening, commenting, tweeting. Thanks so much for being with us on this Thursday morning. We love making you a part, or making us a part of your Thursday morning. So enjoy all the action, the NFL action, the baseball action, the college football action. We'll recap it all on Monday right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.